Baseball's dead.
Rest in peace.
Said the same thing on Section 10 last night. Say it again here. The service, the Wi-Fi, very bad. So there's like a 2-second delay. So I'm going to like say something and then wait 2.5 Mississippis for Dallas and Jayhay to react. So just bear with the clunkiness of that. But anyways, it's a Monday. It's a Monday. I feel like I'm already like a resident of the United Kingdom at this point. I can't keep track of time. We're living
like
in
my
London
old
time
coworker.
Right now. Old coworker. Who?
Oh shit, he was off the pod. Never mind.
Who?
Never mind. I told this story to Dallas and Jake at the end of the pod last week, and I forgot you were already on about the lady who came back with the full-blown accent. But
yeah.
That did happen. That did happen to me last night. I was walking down the street and I met a young man who was wearing a Section 10 shirt. He had a British accent, and I was like, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Framingham." From Framingham, Massachusetts. That's where Lou Merloni's from. Lou Merloni does not speak with a British accent. So it can happen, Jayhay. I can attest to that. Yeah, it does happen, in fact.
How long had he been in London?
I don't know, dude. I think if he was 23 years old, I would venture to guess he's pushing.
Start talking funny.
Yeah, he's probably pushing like 6 years. Doing a 6-year bid in the UK.
It takes 6 years to pick up the Queen's English. That's like, I would need I got 40 plus on this thing over here on this side. Like, there's no way it switches up that quickly.
Maybe if it happens during your formative years, like maybe he moved there as like a young teen or something like that. And
sure.
You know, that was his whole schooling environment or something like that. I could see how that might work.
I figured a great place to start today would be talking about them A's, Dallas. We're doing walk-offs now? Like, are we
Louis liftoff, baby?
Are we back? Are we back? Are you ready to say it? Are the A's back, brother?
Well, we're climbing back into the pool of expectation that we began the season with. And I think it's a great place to start evaluating, really, and this is across the board, all teams, right? 25, 30 games into the season, you've got a pretty good idea of who you are, and you've got a pretty good idea of some holes you need to fill. But I think right now, if you're the Athletics, there's no doubt that you are watching this offense start to develop a personality. You're starting to see who the regular contributors can be. You're starting to see what the lineup looks like when you're getting contributions from other places as well. And as we all know in this game, when you put it all together, whether it's on the pitching side, where you're lock and step with the rotation and the bullpen, and it just feels like you're handing the ball to the guys in the 8th and 9th inning consistently. And offensively, when you start to run out regular lineups and then you plug in some different guys on a getaway day and you're still getting that kind of production, that's where you start to realize, you know what? We are good. This is just a matter of playing consistent baseball. If the A's would catch the baseball, things would look a lot different too. And that's just been a problem. It's been a problem. So from an offensive perspective, watching.
Can I ask you a real question about that though? Because like I know what the defensive numbers are up and down the board. Mm-hmm. Like, do you think that's like a problem that can be fixed, or not fixed, but like mitigated in season, or do you think that's like kind of inherent to the way the roster has been constructed for this season?
I think it's a combination of both, because I think and look, I will preface this by saying JJ Bleday is my oldest daughter's favorite player. She absolutely fucking loves JJ Bleday. And she has not been terribly happy that there has been some struggle out there in center field. But I want to say this much as well about what we're seeing with JJ specifically, and then more like more roundedly with the rest of the outfielders that I have seen come through the ballpark in Sacramento. There have just been some inconsistencies in the way the field is played, the way the grass is played. I've watched guys overrun balls. I've watched balls roll right to guys. JJ, Leody Taveras the other night. Like, these are pretty good defenders, and these balls are snaking on them. Something else I took note of, because it just didn't, watching these guys early, it didn't make a ton of sense what I was seeing. And the outfield warning track in Sacramento at its largest point at certain points is 25 and a half plus feet wide, or depth from the cut of the grass to the wall. All right. And you're going, well, what fucking difference does that make? Well, typically there's some uniformity in the major league warning tracks, right? Give or take a foot or so. I mean, and there's some that vary, that are different. But I thought to myself, I'm watching outfielders who were very familiar with where they were at look very unfamiliar with where they're at right now. And I'm watching them go for baseballs near the wall, and there's hesitation that's occurring. So I myself walked out there and measured it, walked it off. 25 plus feet in certain areas. I believe 18 was the warning track in Oakland. So what difference does that make? When a guy is ranging towards the wall, you have it in your mind how many steps it's going to take before you start to brace for impact, right? 3, 2, 1, elevate, impact. And I'm watching guys make plays where they're going for balls and they're short of the wall. They haven't hit the wall. Their hands are up anticipating contact with the wall, but they don't hit the wall until their hand is farther down. And that's just showing me that I don't want to say that they're lost in space, but there's an unfamiliarity with their environment. And that is impacting people across the board. Right field, center field, left field, big leaguers in general, not just our club. So that's a long-winded way to answer your question about, do I think that there can be help? Yes, but I also think it's going to take some getting used to. And ultimately, I will continue to keep my eye on the playing surface itself, because that matters.
Is there anything to the A's? And I know that many players have told me this off the record. They hate playing in Sacramento. Is that the record? The record at home is awful, and the record on the road is the A's are cooking on the road. But is there anything to the A's just absolutely hating Sacramento? Is that true?
I can't speak for everyone on the team.
Okay.
And so what I will say is there is a clear separation of experience on the road as opposed to at home in that ballpark. And the reason it might have surfaced early is because it's just a matter of getting used to a different place for the very first time. You've gone from a place where everything about your routine is dialed in, locked in. You know, like from little stuff, you know how long it's going to take you to get from the cage to the kitchen, right? From the kitchen to the training room, from the training room back to your locker. Like, you know how long all of that takes. Well, now you're in a different place, and your ability to navigate this is becoming problematic because maybe you have folks who aren't familiar with who you are, and you might be running around there in a uniform, but they're still like, oh, you can't go this way. You can't go this way. And they're like, well, I'm on the team. So yeah, I can go that way, and I'm going to go that way. And it's just little stuff like that, you know, like for a DH, for instance, you're used to being able to walk up to the clubhouse in between innings. You used to be able to get in the cage, get some swings in. Well, that can't happen the way that it happens in parks away from Sacramento. So again, it's just a matter of getting used to creating a routine that you get comfortable with. Is it going to be the same accommodations as on the road? No. Do they understand that? Yes.
I did want to, before we let me talk about Underdog for a second, but there's a team that I want to talk about today. I feel like Jayhay might be excited that we're going to talk about this team. But they deserve some love, because I think if you're looking at all
Tigers?
the big market teams, you're looking at all the big market teams right now, and you're like, oh, you know, the usual suspects and this and that. There's a team right now that's playing some pretty damn good baseball that I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about. And I'd like to spend some time talking about them today. But first, we got to talk about Underdog. Underdog just dropped their playoff basketball promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock to the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. You're going to want to see how serious it gets when that game 7 hits. Hop on Underdog, the best place to make picks during playoff basketball, and get started right now. Make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared. That's Jared to get up to $1,000 of bonus credits and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Jared. Just throw a guess out there, Jayhay. What team do you think I'm talking about right now?
I think you're talking about the Detroit Motor City Kitties.
I feel like there's media personalities out there that have gravitated to the balls of the Tigers. It's a new bandwagon interest these days. The gritty city Tigs are certainly getting covered.
How about the winners of 5 in a row, the Tampa Bay Rays?
Ooh, close, but no cigar. The team I'm talking about has a winning record, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Could it be
West Coast?
Could it be the Seamen?
Mm-mm.
No, it's not them either. Maybe we can name all 30 teams. Is it the Mets?
How about the second place winners of 4 straight Cincinnati Reds? How about them?
Oh gosh, we could have guessed for a while.
I think they fit the criteria.
Let's talk about
a team that no one was given any love to. A team that coming into the season, did anyone have any real expectations for the Cincinnati Reds to have a winning record? And I'm not saying they're going to go wire to wire with a winning record, but I think from right now, when I think for quite some time, and this was correct, by the way, when we criticize Major League Baseball for not promoting their young stars and being like, hey, you've got so many exciting young talent and you're not doing anything to showcase them. I think that they've done quite a nice job of promoting Ellie De La Cruz as one of the top stars in baseball. So you have a star player. You have Hunter Green, who's emerged as one of the best starting pitchers in baseball this year. And obviously we all knew the name Hunter Green. Guy throws really hard. It was just a matter of, is he going to put this all together and fulfill the prophecy? But as of now, entering play today on Monday, the Cincinnati Reds, and this is not set in stone by any means, but they have closed the gap in the Chicago Cubs, who have lost 2 straight. And I know that we talked about the Chicago Cubs being a team where it's like, oh, wow, that's a team that you have the Dodgers in the National League, yada, yada, yada. The Cubs, we were pumping their tires as having the best run differential in the National League. That now belongs to the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds have the best run differential in the National League. Yes, Dallas, speak to me on it.
They're dealing. Well, outside of Hunter Green, because everybody is going to gravitate towards Hunter Green and the dominance that you're seeing from him, which is super sexy. 36 2/3, 43 punch outs. I think he's got less than 10 walks. Fucking sub 1 whip. Like the dude is dealing. But there were questions, I think, and the reason that there was, I don't want to say hesitation surrounding the Cincinnati Reds, but with the move of a guy, like you're bringing a guy like Brady Singer. What are you going to get from Brady Singer? It feels like that's a guy who was like ready to turn the corner for the past few seasons. Like just right there. What do we need to unlock? What do we need to get done? Things have worked out well for Brady Singer up until this point right now. But how about the left-hander Nick Lodolo? Nick Lodolo has also been doing exactly what you need to do to keep your team in the mix in the early go. Because, outside of the dominance, like he's not punching tickets the way that Hunter Green is, but as far as limiting traffic, as far as garnering weak contact, when you start to think about how you're able to keep guys off the base path, if you're not going to be punching tickets yourself, look no further than Lodolo. Sub 1 whip, sub 200 batting average against. Like the guy's fucking slicing and dicing. But this is precisely what you needed to have happen if you're the Cincinnati Reds. To make a little noise in this division, to show them, hey, you know what? We're not just going to roll over for the Cubs. We're not going to roll over for the Crew. This shit is not going to happen. We are going to be players in this division right now. And you guys know how strong I feel about needing to have a presence on the mound especially in a division that's up for grabs, because that's where you're going to dominate your opponents, is limiting offense. It's not like you're just going to turn in to this bludgeoner overnight as a lineup, right? They've got some guys that can make a little noise in the lineup as well. But for the most part right now, you got to tip your cap to what the boys on the bump have been doing for the Reds.
Jayhay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly, I think it speaks as much to what's going on in the NL, which is that, you have, I think, a lot of teams that were anticipated to be a lot better than some other teams kind of not distancing themselves. And there is just an enormous amount of middle ground here to be spoken for. And, the Reds, to your point, best run differential, like Dallas highlighted the pitching staff. What's interesting to me about the offense is that it's a lot of the production is coming from places that you probably weren't expecting to be the key contributors, right? Like
at all.
It's not that Ellie's having a bad season. He isn't. I think Matt McClain was a big breakout candidate. That has not, or a build on what he did the last time he was healthy candidate. That hasn't really happened. But you've gotten big contributions from, guys that you acquired in off-season transactions that were, I think at the time, viewed as more, bit transactions, role player stuff, Gavin Lux, Austin Hayes, that kind of thing. And I'm interested to see to what extent those performances continue. Like obviously Austin Hayes is not going to continue to post a 1200 OPS. But that has been driving that, what has basically been a league average offense, to go with, basically an elite starting pitching staff, to everything Dallas spoke to. I think they're interesting. I mean, I think there's a void to be filled after the Cubs in the NL Central that they're as or more capable of filling perhaps than, the Pirates definitely. And the Cardinals, I think for sure the Cardinals as well. So yeah, interesting team. But why shouldn't they be interesting? Like,
well, I think for reasons you just outlined, Jay, is because some of the productivity, or the majority of the productivity right now, are coming from places that I don't know you would feel comfortable saying, yeah, these guys are going to be the same contributors come August. And that's fair to say. It's more than okay to say, because to this point right now, you have guys that are going to be getting 400 at bats, maybe, that are leading the charge right now. And so, in a small window, this is great, but now we have to zoom out and think about sustainability, which is why I always place the emphasis on what I see on the mound, because when you're lacking the sort of offense that I think the Cincinnati Reds are still lacking, your best weapon, your best bolt is going to be keeping the other team off the board.
Well, and it's also interesting too, because like some of the guys who have gotten some of the most playing time for them haven't just been bad, they've been like
awful.
Abysmal. So awful. Like whether they perform better themselves or whether their playing time is usurped by somebody else and they're just that position inevitably gets more production. Like, I don't think there's anything stopping the Reds from being a mid, maybe high 80s win team. And that's absolutely a potential wild card contender. Yeah. They have the two most important pieces, right? We've mentioned, but that we haven't, tongue bathed, but they have the MVP caliber franchise position player, and they have the legitimate number one ace level pitcher. And, I know Dallas and I riffed about when the last time the Reds had a pitcher of this caliber atop their rotation. And some people have come back and said, well, you guys forgot to mention Johnny Cueto. And, yes, I forgot to mention Johnny Cueto, whether we did or we didn't. Like, all due respect to Johnny Cueto, he is not what Hunter Green probably is right now and definitely could be in the future. Like, this is a guy who could win the Cy Young and be the best pitcher in the NL. And I don't think, for as entertaining and good as he was, I don't think Johnny Cueto was ever quite that for a sustained period of time. So, yeah, I mean, the Reds are interesting. They have two of the most interesting pieces in the entire National League.
The Milwaukee Brewers have been struggling. I'm not gonna get crazy and unrealistic with it. I think we pretty much all three of us picked the Chicago Cubs to win the NL Central this year. So I'm not gonna say, hey, Do you think the Reds have a shot to win the division? The answer is no, probably across the board. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think the answer is no across the board. Do you think the Cincinnati Reds could finish second in this division? Do they have the pieces to finish second in the NL Central in 2025?
I say unequivocally yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I would agree.
Wow. Okay.
If you're asking me, will they? I think it's probably a coin toss, a legitimate coin toss between them and the Brewers to finish second or something like that at this point. Maybe Brewers slightly ahead. But no, I think they absolutely have the roster as currently stands to finish second in this division, which I think almost by definition will put them in the conversation for a wild card if they're invested in winning in the present, which with these two talents under the contract, levels that they're at right now, I would think that that's what they're interested in doing. Like the runway for the Reds, just because they have two very young, very good players, isn't 8 years. It's not 6 years. It's when these guys are affordable, right? Because this is a team that's never going to spend at or above a certain level. So like this is the window for them to be a competitive,
good,
decent team. We're not waiting for 3 or 4 years down the line. So they don't have pressure on them to be good because, to your point, nobody picked them. But at the same time, their timeline suggests that, like, if not now, then next season. But if not next season,
then when? Yeah.
Let
me ask Dallas this question because I feel like Jayhay just fucking wakes up in the morning and looks at this and memorizes it. Like he probably knows the exact down to the decimal point. Dallas, if I were to ask you Fangraphs playoff odds, what do you think Fangraphs has the playoff odds for the Cincinnati Reds entering play today, April 28th?
Playoff odds for the Cincinnati Reds right now. I'm going to say 3%.
3? That's crazy.
No,
17.6. Yeah, 17.6.
17.
I mean, the follow-up question was, do you think that the Reds have a better playoff chance right now than the Milwaukee Brewers, which obviously if you have them at 3%, then I think that's a no. But 17.6 and the Brewers are about 25%.
I mean, I guess my brain is thinking about what's happening in the NL West and what can continue to happen in the NL West, and understanding that might be a division that very well has 3 teams come out of it.
I mean, the odds are put it this way. The team with the 4th best playoff odds in the NL West has better playoff odds than the Brewers and the Reds.
So that's why, like, again, it's not a knock on the Cincinnati Reds. This is just my brain saying there's a few other teams that are significantly better than that. I don't know that they work their way into this equation. And
I bet Dallas.
My fucking point right there.
I think it's safe to say that you have to win the NL Central
of where the Reds are in the pecking order.
What's that?
You don't think a wild card team can come out of the Central? I mean, it's probably unlikely.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if this
offends. It's not impossible.
But I don't think
it's
so,
impossible.
No. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's highly unlikely that we're going to get a wild card team out of the NL Central this year.
Well, to Dallas's point about the 3%, like that number might be off, but I guarantee you Dallas has the right grasp of like where in the pecking order the Reds are, like how many teams are below them or above them in the National League.
Yeah,
like,
what's their wild card? What are their wild card odds?
Their wild card odds are
to clinch
5.5% to win a wild card.
I mean, so spot. Fucking come on. I'm what, 2.5% off?
Well, they're given a 12% chance to win the division, which speaks to kind of what Jared was talking about, where like their most direct path to the postseason might be through the Cubs, as opposed to trying to beat one of these other teams. Because you're right, the only teams that are behind the Reds in playoff odds in the NL are the teams that you would think are behind them: are the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Nats, the Marlins, and the Rockies. Every other team is ahead of them.
What about
they face an uphill battle.
What about the NL East? What do those odds look like? Like where I mean, it's the Mets are winning the division right now.
The Mets have
the Phillies are
84.8% to make the playoffs. Braves have 68.1%, and the Phils not far behind at 62.2%. So the Braves, even with their shit start, and they're fighting and clawing their way back. They are they're 12-15, which again, not tremendous, but things could be much, much worse. I think that there are plenty of teams right now that if they started the way that the Braves started, that it would continue to spiral, and they've at least fought back. It is a little interesting to see that the Braves have better playoff odds right now than the Phillies do. But, having north of 60% playoff odds for 3 teams in the East, and, you look down and you see the Giants, you see the D-backs, and even the Padres, which I find it offensive that the Rockies have essentially been mathematically eliminated before Mother's Day. Fangraphs has them at a 0.0%, which, crazier things are like win streaks happen. Win streaks happen, brother. I saw the Oakland A's win 20 straight. It can happen.
Did you?
I did, yeah. If the Rockies win 20 straight, they are a game above 500 right now.
And think about what a turnaround that would be. Hey, they brought my man Clint Hurdle back in. Huh? Congratulations, Clint. It's good to see. Good to see. Get him in the cage with the boys. Start ramming, cackling that baseball all around the Rockies.
Yeah, that's a good.
I think the Rockies could use some better help if we're being honest, or maybe the fan base. Yeah, all the above. Let's talk numbers. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session with BetterHelp. You pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. Duran doing a great job of bringing mental health to the forefront, especially for men out there who maybe used to just burying it down the old Irish Catholic way. We just bury it down. You don't have to anymore. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient too. You can join a session with a click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/baseball, and that'll get you 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball. Speaking of help, we on the Beatles tour today, we went to a couple of the locations that they filmed the Beatles Help movie. Pretty cool. We also walked across Abbey Road today. Got a nice little pic. Got a pic of the fam walking across Abbey Road. Gonna have to frame that fucking thing. Pretty exciting stuff. Beatles tour is great. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, we're on day 2. I think we go all the way through Friday. We're going to Liverpool tomorrow. So we
wait. It's a multi-day
tour?
Oh, it's a fucking week, brother.
Oh, I thought when you said you were going over there, it was like one thing you were doing one day. It was just like the most important thing.
Oh no, this was big gimmick.
So it is this is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
My God.
It's on the tour bus, and it's like we went to we're going to like Paul McCartney's house. We're going to like where John met Yoko. We went to where Paul met Linda. We went to Brian Epstein's house, their manager. We went to where they filmed the Help movie. We went to Ringo's pub where they shot scenes for A Hard Day's Night. We went to Abbey Road.
Wow.
Did the crosswalk, went to the studio. We went to Paul McCartney's like old apartment where he lived with his ex-girlfriend. We went to the train station where they shot A Hard Day's Night. This is just in the first 2 days. Like, we still got 3 fucking days to go. Like, we're going to Liverpool after this. So I got to pack up all my shit here. This is my last night in London. We go to Liverpool tomorrow, and then the rest of the Beatles tour rolls on. Yeah, no, it's intense. It's intense.
Oh. The amount of anxiety that you just fucking dumped on me, knowing how long that is and the daily requirement to participate in that. Like that is like being on a cruise, and your boy doesn't do cruises because when I want off this motherfucker, I'm getting off this. Like that. Oh man.
Yeah, there is so like all of it has been really cool. There have been some parts where I'm like, all right, like today we went to a garden, and they were like, oh, like the Beatles sat on this bench. And I looked at my sister and I was like, how fucking cool do you have to be that like 65 years later, after you just fucking sat on a bench, people come to look at it and be like, ooh, the Beatles fucking sat here. Like, you got to be the fucking man. Yeah. They were, obviously. I mean, like the Beatles are like, they're gods in America, but over here, I mean, there's plaques.
Are they big over there?
They're pretty big over here. Yeah. There was like a plaque outside of an apartment building that said like John Lennon lived here, and he lived there for like 6 months. Like, imagine there's just like a fucking plaque outside my apartment in Saugus. And it's like, Jack Carrabba's lived here for 18 months. And just like was slinging dick on Route 1 for a year and a half. Like, here we go. It's a plaque to denote this history, this Saugus history. But the Beatles, I mean, it's crazy. Like we would go on like a little like a walkway, and it's like, oh, like John Lennon took a photo right here, and like you're matching it up side by side. That's legend shit. If you've got people flying from other countries to sit on a tour bus 9 to 5, 5 days a week to just be like, hey, this is where Yoko Ono took a shit, you know? Man.
That is a lot. Right here, John Ringo once had an original thought right here. Right here. I mean, if they're passing out LSD, Jared, I'll sit on any fucking bench you want for however long you want in whatever garden you want.
Give you the authentic experience.
Yeah. If that's what we're doing, all in.
The coolest part about this as like a rock and roll fan is the intermingling of all the artists. Like we went to like one apartment, and they're like, yeah, John and Yoko lived here, and like Paul used to come over here and like smoke weed, and like Paul had a house over here, but he didn't want his wife to catch him like banging other girls, so like this is where he would bang other girls. And like when they wanted to give up the lease, they didn't want to like break the lease, so they just handed it over to Jimi Hendrix, and then he lived here. It's like, what? Like Jimi Hendrix just like moved in after John Lennon moved out, but that's the shit that was going on over here. And they were like, yeah, if you go to this pub, like on any given night, you could walk in and Hendrix will be playing, or like Pete Townsend, or like the Rolling Stones would just have their own table in the back, and it's like this little ass pub. It's crazy. It's cool, but it's crazy.
That's why the reference is, wow. It's like the Beatles. It's like they're the Beatles, because that's what the Beatles do.
Yeah.
We should do a tour like that for BID.
Yeah, like, oh, this is where Dallas had to retry the 7th grade for the 3rd time. This is this is his first. Yeah, the BID tour would just be
to a guy who skipped grades.
Yeah, because the teachers didn't want to deal with you. They were like, nope, we got an 8th grader, I guess. Nope, fuck that. I heard about this 6th grader.
This is the very mound that a 24-year-old Jared Carrabis dominated
carved
the
up the
14U
16U team. Yeah.
But that is bucket list type shit for our fans for sure.
Oh yeah, people. I would love to be the tour guide for that. I would just relive that day over and over again. Be like, yep, 6504.
Well,
that's where he threw. This is where he punched them all out.
You can put the thing into the deep fryer. You can pretend to put the nugget batch in.
Where would the official
make it kind of interactive?
Jayhay nug fryer be located?
Oh, the monument or whatever.
Where would the plaque go?
Where would people have to go?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I think it would have to go in probably Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, where George Washington spent a rough winter with his troops. Yeah, probably just place it right up there, right on the hills with the log cabins.
I like that.
Two American originals.
Valley Forge and the Nug deep fryer.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah.
Well, speaking of tour, did you guys see the tour that Elio Ramos took around the base path?
I actually missed that, but I did see it was a walk-off, yeah?
Yeah. It's just an absolute comedy of errors. And if there's ever a post-game interview I want to hear, it's Bruce Bochy explaining what the fuck he just saw. You know how much baseball that man has seen in his life for him to just be like, well, we didn't play catch, and can't do that. And you're going to lose the game if you don't do that. And we knew that, and so, yep, can't play catch. You got to play catch. It's just fucking airmailing shit everywhere. I think one of the funnier parts about it though is, and this is how it has to happen. And this is for me, this is the most little league element of it, is Ramos heading into second base had zero interest in going to third, had fucking no interest
he was
done. Shut it down. He was jogging coming to a stop at second base. And then was like fucking cartoonish. Was like, whoa, whoa, and fucking boom, took off. And then it's just fucking that ball fucking bounces off, and oh my God, dude. But that was that was it was very entertaining to watch. Very entertaining to watch.
Well, in a Tim Kirkjian-esque twist, you see something in baseball you've never seen before every single day. That Little League walk-off home run occurred on Little League Day at the ballpark.
Oh,
perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Dallas, did you say you did or that you wanted to call the Little League World Series?
I did.
What year is that?
15 maybe? 15 and 16. Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that. I feel like we could make some content there. I feel like we could make some content.
It was we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but I just I love the purity of our game. And if you give me an option, and I said this, I've told the story. I said this to our ESPN bosses after I had done the Little League World Series and the College World Series. They're like, hey, how was that? How was that experience? And I was like, brother, you don't ever have to put me in a fucking big league booth ever again. Call me when the Little League World Series is popping. Call me when we're going to Omaha, and I will get there a week early. I will stay a week late. You just fucking tell me what we got to do. That's how much I enjoyed my time at the Little League World Series and how much I have enjoyed Omaha. Those are the two outside of spring training. I would say if you are just a baseball purist and you want to enjoy the energy that baseball can offer you on different levels in different ways, because it's going to be the interactions you see with parents, It's going to be the interactions you see with young players with each other, young players. I mean, like I would be lying to you if I told you that I didn't have a moment where I like legitimately started to well up when we were in the Little League ballpark village, and it was with all the teams, and you got kids from Japan playing kids from Curacao in ping pong, and they can't really communicate with each other, but everybody knows a good shot, just like baseball. Everybody knows a good rally, just like a great play made, and you're fucking cheering, you're yelling, they're high-fiving, they're fucking coming up with handshakes and shit. Like, it just, God, dude, it was so fun to watch them, because you're watching them fall in love with the game, and you know what's happening, right? Like you watch the movie where the first kiss scene happens, and you know what kind of emotions are going on there. Well, it's like you're watching that happen. You're watching these little boys and little girls fall in love with a game that you as an adult know has been such a big part of your life. Like, how do you not want to be there at the inception, at the beginning of those moments for all these kids? It's incredible. And then the last stop before you start getting paychecks for it, in which they get paychecks now in college, but the College World Series offers that on a grander scale, because now what? We're knocking on that door of a dream coming true, right? We're one step away from pro ball. So just feeling all that emotion around those two events, fuck, man. I'm getting pumped up right now thinking about it, and we are a ways away from that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a different perspective on it. I know that's you're just like, oh, it's so great. It's like the kids fall in love with baseball. Like, for me, I'm just like, all right, so how do we get waivers so that I can dice up these little league kids? Like, if we just have a booth going where they're like, all right, get your parent's signature right here, get in the fucking box and see what you really got.
Oh, yeah. You think they're not ready for that? They are ready for that. They are ready for that.
They're not ready for that.
You trying to strike little leaguers out is going to be a fantastic segment.
Hey, yeah, Jared, put it like this. You wanted no part of the fucking kids from Texas a few years ago? I don't know that these are the capes I'd be tugging on.
Men that were throwing 99. Yeah, no, I didn't want any part of them. No.
They were high schoolers. They were freshmen and sophomores.
I don't care what grade they were in, Dallas. They're like 6'4", fucking full-grown adults that were throwing 97 with movement. No, I did not want to get in the box against them.
Well, it says more about you than it does them.
Would you have done it? I'm a pitcher.
Fuck yeah, I would have done it. You kidding me?
No, you wouldn't have. No.
I'm an athlete. athlete.
You're not. No, you're a retired athlete and a bad.
Tell you right now, there's a reason guys don't want me to step in during spring training or during the off-season videos, because the last thing you need is some washed-up pitcher like me barreling your shit. That would just send you in a mental fucking spiral.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Look, I did Mason a favor.
What, leaving the bat on your shoulder?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I gotta bounce for dinner, but I did want to bring this story up before I left. The Savannah Bananas selling out. Was it Clemson?
Yeah, the Clemson Stadium. Yeah, Clemson.
81,000 in attendance, and I see people complaining about this shit on Twitter, being like, "I don't get it. It's lame." Blah blah blah. Like, until you go and experience it, and I mean, they're like, "Who the fuck? What kind of people are going to something stupid like families, bro? Like, it's a family fun event. Like the fact that like D-Train's daughters want, like, they've never asked me to go to Fenway to see the Red Sox, but they asked me, they were like, "Oh, Savannah Bananas? Fuck yeah. Like, we've seen them on TikTok. Like, it looks fun." Yeah. And then they went, they had a blast. I don't know. I don't like, I get that that's just the way of the world right now. And everyone just wants to hate everything, regardless of if they even hate it or not. But the fact that the Bananas are selling out football stadiums, 80,000 plus, is very cool. And I don't know if you agree, Dallas, but because it is obviously wildly different. Like banana ball is wildly different than baseball, but it can be a cool gateway to baseball where the bananas are, if you're, where is Clemson? What fucking state is that in? Ohio?
Ohio.
Where is it?
Clemson is not in Ohio. Clemson
Where is it?
Is in Georgia.
Georgia. Okay. So say you are someone who has no interest in baseball, none, and you go to the Savannah Bananas, 81,000.
In South Carolina.
South Carolina. Who cares? Who cares? It's somewhere down south. Say you go to, where is it actually? I'm going to Google it because you're a piece of shit. Where?
It's in South Carolina.
It's South Carolina for sure.
Yeah, it's in South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay, all right. So say you're a baseball fan, or not. Say you've never seen baseball. You don't care about baseball, and you go to the Bananas and you have a great time. I feel like, do you think it could be a gateway drug to the game of baseball, or no?
Yes, because of the nuance, right? Like the idea that if you're in the stands and you catch a foul ball, well, that guy's out. The guy who hit the foul ball is out because you caught the ball. Like you are as much of a part of the game, or have the potential to be as much of a part of the game as one of the players on the field that you're watching. Now, should the player on the field do something sweet, like a backflip and catch the ball at the same time, or knock the ball up in the air and catch it with his hat, like we watched a guy do the other day, you get extra points. And, the way the game is played, it's about winning every inning and not necessarily the whole game. And there's just, they got dance reviews going on in there. There's a lot to be said for the Bananas having tapped into a desire to see the game of baseball, but maybe to see it dressed up a little differently, literally and figuratively, because of everything that I just outlined. So it is a great introduction to the game being played in a different way that will eventually, I think, get people to maybe engage more.
And that's my perspective on it, is that I think it is more likely that future baseball fans will be introduced to the sport via the Bananas than it is baseball fans will be drawn away from baseball because they now solely focus their fandom on the Bananas. Like, I think it is, and I think it's, in that sense, should be embraced. I mean, there's no real reason to hate it anyway. It's just something that people like. And if 81,000 people are showing up for a show that is being put on, if it helps you think of it as a show as opposed to a mockery of baseball, if you want to be a pessimist about it, then think of it as a show, because 81,000 people are showing up for entertainment, and that's what they're providing.
And think about it this way. Think about it from this perspective. I don't know if you guys ever went to these, but I've been to several and have enjoyed myself every time, even as a young adult. The Globetrotters, right? The Globetrotters. Now, how many NBA fans are shitting on the Globetrotters? I don't know that there's many. How many NBA fans are taking their fandom and saying, you know what? I just can't stand what the Phoenix Suns have done this year. Again, I'm out. I'm solely a Globetrotter guy. Just Globetrotter basketball for me. That's it. I'm following the Globetrotters and I'm fucking done with it. Well, that's not happening either. All right. So I think we're talking about a happy medium of existence between diehard fans who are like, oh, fuck that. I don't like it. It's not what. And then fans who are like, you know what, dude? Like, I just want to go to a ball game and have fun and watch something weird happen.
It's a good time. It's a fun ass time. Shout out to the Bananas. Congrats on all the success. People hating just to hate. It's a very unhealthy thing to do. All right. I'm going to go to the Hard Rock Cafe, which is the original Hard Rock Cafe here in London. I will be back on Wednesday to give you my full thoughts. And when I'm back on Wednesday, I'll be in Liverpool. So excited for that.
Oh, just day 32 of the Beatles Tour.
Beatles Tour. The Beatles Tour.
We will be taking a family hovercraft to the place that Yoko thought about sending everybody to space. It's going to be fabulous. Can't wait for the review.
Can't wait. All right. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you guys.
I'm gone. Have fun. Wow.
That's cute. I did not realize that it was that sort of setup at all. That's way more interesting to me from a perspective of not being there. Yeah.
What do you mean? Like your
now I'm laughing more about what he's enduring or experiencing than I was before. I thought it was like one day they're doing a Beatles tour, every other day they're just doing some shit around London or whatever. And no, this is funny.
Do you think it was a hey, we're gonna go to England, we're gonna go to London, we're gonna also check out this tour and then blah 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 blah, or was it like, hey, brains together, like, all right, we're doing it, we are committing to, like, because this is basically a Beatles trip, this isn't a London trip.
So I know he told me ahead of time, and he probably just mentioned it on the pod, but like I know he said they were doing the Beatles tour, like that was the main thing on the trip. If he was told that it was an everyday 9 to 5 thing, there's no way, in my opinion, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, that he digested that fact before going.
Oh, well, yeah. And I'm not saying that he wouldn't have gone, but
no. I think he's very much, he's invested in his dad's trip and the birthday celebration, and that's very sweet. But I don't think he ever fully grasped that this was all day, every day. And then like a gap for dinner.
It's not making it back to showers. It's like, we're going to go back so we can eat. And then we are absolutely hitting the road, right? We've got the elementary school tour tomorrow.
An exam afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. We're meeting with all of their nannies on Friday for tea. Like we got to be at our best. That is a little aggressive. But I hope he's going to power through. Jay, we have had an unfortunate series of events unfold in the Bronx.
Yeah,
they went out and got a stopper, which I think some, I don't want to say scratch their heads about, but they felt like, we've got answers in house, like, but hey, if we're adding to this thing, because Kelenec's walked, if we're adding to this thing, why not go get one of the best? So they did. Devin Williams, bring in the airbender, bring in the stopper. Unfortunately, his opportunity to close baseball games is what has stopped in the Bronx because Devin Williams has been relieved of his closer duties. And I'm sure you have some points, Jay, that you're going to want to touch on. I found it interesting just because, remember, it was in the postseason last year where we were watching the ball game and I identified very quickly that Devin Williams was letting the free world know what pitch was coming. And if I could pick it up completely baked and several adult beverages into our evening, I have no doubt that other teams and their data analytical camera-based groups were all over it as well. So whether that's still a thing or not, I'm not going to get into that right now. But coming out of the bullpen, you have to be able to execute certain things. You have to be able to get ahead of guys. You have to fill up the strike zone. You have to take care of business the first batter of the inning, right? And these are things that are just not happening for Devin Williams. And that has been the problem. First pitch strike rate for Devin Williams, just 55%. Average is 62%. That's not good. 58% strike rate on his fastball. That is not good. Average is 66%. The ability to convert the most important count in baseball, 1-1 to 1-2. How you doing there? Well, he's only doing that at a 44% clip. Average is 60%. Can you turn the 2-strike plate appearances into outs? When we get the guy to 2 strikes, are we able to wipe him out? Can we take care of business there? Well, the answer there has been a resounding no, because that's only happening 61% of the time. Are 2-strike plate appearances turning to outs? Big league average, 76% of the time. When you come in the 9th inning, you simply cannot afford to have traffic. How are you doing with that first batter of the inning? Well, he's only clocking outs there about half the time, 50%. What do we need? If you're going to be average in the big leagues, a nice round number of 69%. What is happening when Devin Williams falls behind in the count? Hitters are hitting 667 against Devin Williams when he's behind in the count. Big league average is 326. Well, things have got to be better when he's ahead in the count, right, Dallas? They're not, folks. They're hitting .316 against Devin Williams when he's ahead in the count. Big league average when ahead in the count, 188. There are problems here, Jayhay. There are problems.
And it's unbelievable. And you obviously just laid out some of the massive problems that exist. What is so fascinating to me after digesting what you said and what I had looked at previously, mostly surface level stuff, is that like it's almost so bad like across the board that I almost don't know. Cause like sometimes you can look or watch a player and be like, well, I might like sort of what you did the first time with Devin Williams, where you're like, well, I think he's tipping his pitches, or I know he's tipping his pitches.
There's a way around this.
That is a fixable, in theory, problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like you watch what's going on and you're like, well, I don't even almost know where to begin here, because two things are going on. Everything is bad, like you're talking about, right? So like, you know, and even if we're just talking about basic stuff, like his walk rate has exploded to a level that's untenable for him, even though his walk rate has always been high. And like, because he's not missing any bats, but like the shape of his pitches, but as best I can tell, mostly look the same. The velocity mostly looks the same. The movement looks the same. He's just getting absolutely annihilated. Nobody's missing any of the pitches. Everything that used to be a poorly hit batted ball is now an absolutely crushed batted ball. So it's like, on one hand, it's kind of easy to make fun of if you're inclined to mock the Yankees, because it's like, well, the last time we saw this dude, he was giving up a crippling home run to lose the postseason series, and you made him your priority, quote unquote, to go out and be like, that's going to be our closer. So you have to own that a little bit. If he's like kind of if what ends up happening is that he's broken, I think you have to own that. The saving grace, I think, to some extent for the Yankees is what they have surrendered, at least in the form of the more win now piece in Nestor Cortez, is not a piece that you would be actively missing right now. And secondly, like their bullpen is still probably quite good. And
I believe it's 7th in baseball. I believe. As far as ERA goes.
Even with his performance baked into this. So like,
yes,
there's no way that Devin Williams, if he pitches moving forward, is going to be this bad, because if he's this bad, he won't pitch. Right. So,
right.
And I'm not going to name all the other pitchers in the Yankees bullpen that have done well, but Fernando Cruz is another guy that they acquired in the offseason who has been effective. I know that Weaver is going to get the shot at the bullpen, at the closer role. Yeah. That's not my point, but like, yeah. So there are other people here that I think are capable of filling in the interim while they try and fix Devin Williams. But I mean, as unsuccessful as a transaction really can possibly be. And I'm very curious to see whether this is fixable, because this is a guy from a personal perspective with everything to lose this season with his performance. This is his walk year, I believe. He was slated, you know, we were talking about a guy who could have entered free agency and made a statistical case as, you know, just as strong as Josh Hader's statistical case was when he got $90 million guaranteed to be the closer for the Astros. So this is costing Devin Williams an enormous amount of money. It's costing the Yankees games. And I do think Boone gave him absolutely as long as he really probably could have before the pitch reached a point where it was untenable.
And credit to Devin Williams in that regard, to being understanding of the situation. And he said himself, like, this is, you know, not necessarily something that I'm surprised by. I'm paraphrasing, but he ultimately understood, like, hey, I get it. The performance has been what it's been. And, you know, and again, with what Luke Weaver did for them in the postseason last year, I can understand wanting to, you know, maybe give a guy like Devin Williams an opportunity to come in and put a stamp on this job, because now you're excited about the potential of what Luke Weaver can do, handing the ball to Devin Williams. But I mean, look, Luke Weaver's fucking nasty in his own right. He's very nasty in his own right. This is a dude who, we go back to the postseason, all three series, the DS, the CS, and the World Series, 4 games in each one of those series for Luke Weaver. Like the dude was dealing. Dude was dealing.
Yeah, it was a 1.76 ERA across 15 1/3 innings pitched in the postseason. I think their closer role is probably in perfectly good hands for the time being with Luke Weaver. And I also don't blame them necessarily. I can chuckle a little bit, but I don't blame them for the Williams acquisition, because I think the bullpen is something where every single person running a team or watching the team would agree that you can always use another bullpen arm, particularly one that is perceived as a frontline guy. And I don't think Luke Weaver's, track record was such where you just had to leave him installed as your closer as the New York Yankees going into the 2025 season. Unfortunately, the guy that they targeted to kind of usurp him for the time being was the wrong target, it looks like. But they are not contractually obligated to him beyond this season if this ends up really being that sort of disaster. So we'll see how they bounce back. But again, I'm really interested because it's kind of an across the board disaster, and it's almost like it can't really be this bad, right? Like he struck out 43% of batters last season, right? It's not like we're talking about a guy who was on a multi-year decline.
Right.
He was injured last season and only threw 20 whatever innings, but in those innings, he was still, qualitatively outstanding. And this has come kind of since that point with what you talked about with the Mets.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity still for Devin Williams to get himself back into a position where he is contributing at a high level to this bullpen. Right now, though, there's no doubt that this move had to be made. You just cannot continue to allow a guy to go out there and struggle to the extent that he did. So hopefully for Yankees fans, I know they're feeling pretty good about how things have gone. I know that they would love to have some leverage innings spoken for. So we'll see how the Devin Williams season and the developments of his resurgence start to come about. We had some action, Jayhay, some historic action in the game of baseball over the weekend. A fella by the name of Eugenio. 4 of them things, Jayhay. 4 bombs for Eugenio Suarez. Not one of them cheap, all barreled, all fucking absolutely crushed. And I'm sure there's a couple different ways we could go here. But it's funny to think. Well, I think he entered the game hitting under 200, right? 167 or whatever it was. 6 homers, right? You hit 4 homers, 2/3 of your. I mean, it's one of the better feelings going. I gotta believe one of the better feelings
until the end, right?
Yeah, well,
minor detail, right? Yeah, yeah. Hey, I want to start here. You said we could take a lot of ways on this. I want to start here.
Sure.
I want to get the former big league perspective on this, actually, because I got plenty of nuggets or whatever, but that's not the interesting part. You are a dude who just hit 4 fucking homers in the game, right? And
feel great about
4 homers. You are the 19th player to ever do it. You are walking into the clubhouse and your team just lost.
Yeah.
What is that like? And how are you feeling as that dude being like, yo, that was like the performance of my life. And all of these dudes are kind of sad. And that,
no, that's what I say. Look, you guys are losers. And what I have just done needs to be celebrated. So wipe the fucking frown off your face. All right. I don't care about the 5 spot you gave up. I don't care about your 0 for 5. Do you understand what I just fucking did? All right. Do we understand? Clubby, hit the music, hit the lights, get the fucking beer going. Boys, I want to taste me some me right now. Okay. Can we all agree to just leave the loss out on the field? And can we, no, is that a poor way of
make this about me? Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a poor way of handling that? That has got to be, and I tell you, there's a lot of high fives. There's a lot of butt pats going on there as Eugenio is sitting there like staring into his locker like, fuck, I should have hit 5. Well, that's on me. If I hit 5, maybe.
Well, and to make matters worse too, it wasn't one of those games that was like 17-14 and like multiple other teammates, like, a few other guys popped a few or whatever. Like he had 4 homers and the rest of his team had 3 singles. So like, you can look at basically every one of those dudes and be like, what the hell, man? Like,
You know what, Jay? Honestly, and I would be interested. I'll do some digging here. But I would be curious to know if, because it's that lackluster of a performance from everybody else, if the three like your three teammates are like, look, we know what just happened out there. Fuck that. All right. This was awesome. You just hit 4 fucking tanks. This is great. We are obviously bad today. Things did not go our way, but they went your way. So let's celebrate that. That's how I want to believe that went in the clubhouse.
It's also funny to imagine that one dude looks like he's like receiving like layup pitches, right? Like that they're almost feeding him the baseball. He's hitting homers.
Shots.
And every other player on the team more or less can't buy a bucket. And, and it's like, oh, Eugenio's coming up again. This is going to be a homer. Like I saw 3. I took my attention away and I looked at my phone and I got the notification saying Eugenio Suarez homers or whatever, like on the scoring app. And I was like, wait a second. Like,
is this real?
Yeah, this is like an old update, right? Like, and no, it sure wasn't. But yeah, really cool. I mean, to that point, like 3rd player ever to hit 4 homers and lose the baseball game. Hadn't happened since 1986. And the time before that, the only other time is 1896. So, Ed Delahanty and Bob Horner and now Suarez are the only players to homer 4 times in a game and lose 3 of 19 total instances. So, yeah, pretty rare. 3rd time it's ever happened in April. Suarez is now alongside Mike Schmidt and Willie Mays. Some fun ways you can dice up his historical contributions. But obviously, as I've said multiple times, it's only happened 19 times, no matter how you cut it. And that's going back into the 1800s. So, an incredible, honestly, a generational where were you sort of performance. Like I personally think that the perfect game is a cooler watch. I know you're obviously biased in this regard. But from a pure math perspective, this has happened less often than perfect games.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is why I love the people I work with. Because as soon as I walked in and we were talking about what had happened, our stat guy, our historian, this guy, he runs the score bug. We call him the Great Feldmonian. He's fucking awesome. But instantly Feldy was like, and he turned his chair over to me and just his tone, when guys are getting ready to fire some shit at you and you know what's coming. And he goes, so I was thinking, and I was like, oh, you motherfucker. What do you got right now? And he said, so this has happened 19 times, right? Dallas, you threw your perfect game. You were the 19th player to do so. There's been 24 of those total. Who out of this 19 home run club is the Dallas of this 19 home run club, or this 4 home run club? Who is the equivalent? And I quickly was like, all right, so we're talking about like probably the 18th best player on that list, 17th, 18th best player on that list, because I am no higher than I said. I was like, I'm no higher than 22 on the perfect game list as far as fucking losers who have gotten really lucky at the ballpark. So for the discourse, you nerdy fucks, this is your I got some homework for you. I need your best comparisons and why that this player is the Dallas version of the 4 home run club. Who is the Dallas Braden of the 4 home run club? And yeah, we had some fun with that because I was going through it and I was like, Sean Green, significantly better than me. And then I started to go back in the time machine and I dropped a Rocky Colavito, and I was like, Rocky Colavito, significantly better than your boy. Dude, so
what about Scooter?
Well, that's what we said. Scooter was a guy. Scooter was a guy's name who came up, and I said, Scooter, maybe not going to move the needle as far as all time goes. Definitely a better career than me. Definitely better than me. Definitely better. I love Scooter. Love Scooter to death. Yeah. So we had some fun with that, but that's the kind of environment that I get to walk into every day, where there's a lot of love and support, but also bitch, know your role. And I genuinely appreciate that. genuinely. Something, unless you have anything more on that, Jayhay?
No, I'm good.
We talked about the A's and Luis Urias walking it off. He had an absolute tank. That was very exciting. Shout out to the green and gold. You take your first home series victory against the Texas Rangers. You hit the road. Now we are in Texas here, game 1 today, but they were able to clean up a nice little homestand for the first time in Sacramento. So that felt really good. Something I saw that Jay, you brought to our attention, the Skubal dominant outing. But when I go back to the conversations that I had with Scoob during the Slab Lab and just other conversations I've had with him since then, the take-home message was how competitive this dude is. And to the extent that he is willing to go to get better or to put himself in a position not to succeed, he wants to dominate. He wants to stamp you out of existence. And the story behind the outing that he just had against the Baltimore Orioles, who he punched out 11 of them, is something that I wanted to just share and kind of touch on, because in spring training, as a starter and especially as a starting pitcher who's got a little dirt under their spikes, you can start to dictate where your outings are going to take place when it comes to road travel, right? And sometimes the rotation just falls a certain way. Hey, buddy, you got to hit the road. You got to make the drive. It just is what it is. No problem. It's all good. So for Skubal, being in Florida, travel in spring training is ass. It sucks. It's uphill in the snow both ways on a winter day. Kind of sucks. And Skubal, with an opportunity to stay closer to home, get his outing under his belt, thought to himself, you know what? I don't know how much of a challenge this current team that I'm going to be facing is going to present. And I do know that I'm going to be seeing this team early in the season. I want a taste of what that's going to be like. I want to feel what this hype is all about. This Orioles lineup is supposed to be banging. These boys are supposed to crush. Okay. Well, I want to get a feel for what that's like. So Skubal said, you know what? Put me on the bus. I'm driving 2 hours and I will go and face this team just so that I can get that feel, just so that I can smell you in the batter's box. I want to be able to feel your presence. I want to see the swing. I want to see the take. I want to see if you're about that action. You think you want to ride this fucking 99-mile-an-hour roller coaster, bud? Let's see how excited you are about jumping on it. And so Skubal took that ass down to the Orioles, shoved there, comes back, and you tap back into that scouting report. You tap back into that experience. The reason that stuck out to me was because in a day and age where I think there's a lot of folks who are, and this it's not the easy way out, but for a lot of folks who are looking for a softer landing, is there a smoother path? How can this be easier for me? Skubal took all of that and he balled it all up and he threw it away and said, I want to roll up the sleeves. I want to grind. I want to work. I want to do the little things that it takes to be great. And that right there is a prime example of a dude selling out to how he's gone about his business and saying, if I'm going to lose, if I'm going out on my shield, it's because you're going to be the better team. It's not going to be because I was unprepared and didn't have a feel for how I wanted to dominate you. So when I saw this, I got, I don't know, I just got kind of warm and fuzzy inside.
No, I mean, that's cool on multiple levels. It's cool on, Skubal being a badass. And to your point, having that reservoir, that experience to tap into, to kind of shove and give, I'll say historic, in air quotes a little bit. It was dominant. It was historic, however you want to say it, outing against the O's. And, it's also cool that a pitcher of that caliber, that you got that sort of pitcher to sit down and give us that sort of, and now that you have that insight into his kind of thought process and approach and desire to be great is cool on kind of that secondary level too. So I think, I think that's awesome. And, that start, listen, it's easy to say in hindsight, nobody had a camera around me, but as I was getting ready to consume yesterday's slate, there was a part of me, a large part of me that looked at that game and I said, well, you can never predict how baseball is going to go, but I feel really good. As Kirkton would say, really good in about how that one was going to go, and it went basically exactly how I thought.
Yeah, just fucking Skubal out there. I mean, what do you expect when a tiger gets a hold of a bird?
Look,
just a lot of feathers flying everywhere, and that's exactly what happened. The head Motor City Kitty went to town. And Jay, that leads me to another little topic that you and I think we're both kind of on the same page with, because Jared had asked us, I'm thinking about a team, and I said Tigers, you said Tigers. So now maybe here's an opportunity to kind of get into that. And the reason that I took note of what the Tigers are doing, look, they're 18-7 right now. They have I believe the second best run differential in baseball, plus 41. They trail only the Mets and Giants in victories. Those two teams have 19. And there was one player in particular who I instantly thought about, because Javi Baez has taken arrows, and understandably so, for how things have played out during his time in Detroit. And just going back to last season, through his first 23 games, which was 76 total at-bats, I believe, his slash line read like this: 197, 232, 289 for a 521 OPS. And that was, again, last year, first 23 games, 76 at-bats. Through the first 23 games this season, through his first 73 at-bats, Javi Baez is slashing 301, 346, 370 for a 716 OPS. Now, is that what you want to see from Javi Baez? I guess it's all relative at this point, right, Jayhay?
I think the answer is unequivocally yes.
There you go. So that's kind of where my brain instantly went, because you highlighted
That's fun.
Highlighted how Torkelson has come along, and I thought to myself, well, that lineup is 9 men deep, and for the better part, I think a lot of felt like it was maybe 8 men deep when Javi Baez was in the lineup. And Javi Baez has been in the lineup, and he has been helpful to this extent. So I'm not attributing the Tigers' success solely to what Javi Baez is doing, but I'm telling you something that you already know, our listeners who are very smart. When you have a guy like Javi playing well, or at least contributing on the level he is, this is the kind of impact that it can have.
To your point, I brought up a lot of the individual players on the Tigers that I was interested in on the last pod, but I'm glad you've given me another opportunity to talk them for a second, because why I think it's interesting this time is more from a broad perspective, that you look at that division, and, I said I did not have the level of confidence in the Guardians this year that I did last year. I think their play, while being 3 games above 500, they're negative 18 in run differential. I think they're basically a 500 team. I think they're proving that out right now. I think the Twins, I think the pessimism was well warranted there. And I think while it is not that way right now, I think people correctly read the division as a battle between the Tigers and the Royals. And why I think there's such a reason for optimism if you're a Tigers fan right now is that if you look at the Royals, I think they may have like catastrophic, impossible to solve in-season offensive issues outside of Bobby Witt Jr. And
I don't like to hear that, Jayhay. I don't like to hear that.
I don't either. I believe I picked them to win the division. I have the Tigers in the postseason, but I picked the Royals to win the division, I believe. And while Witt is delivering on his end, I mean, it hasn't been at quite the mind-numbing levels of last season, but he's doing his part for sure. Basically every other offensive contributor of any sort of, quantity at all is not. And it's not like they're they're not doing that well. It's like everybody is doing like really, really, really badly.
There's what, 3 guys that I think have a positive WAR, 3 or 4 guys on.
Yep.
And a guy that guy in MJ Melendez that I think we had, high hopes. I think we expected him to be able to come up and be a contributor to help.
5.
He's not there.
8 players have received at least 70 plate appearances for the Royals this season. 5 of those players, to your point, are below replacement level right now.
There you go.
So that's like obviously totally unworkable. They have, in more traditional form, they have the second lowest team OPS in baseball at 615, ahead of only the White Sox, who are obviously kind of like, a joke unto themselves for obvious reasons. And so, like, the Tigers are, to me, they're not a perfect team, but they are a team that's not going to have that sort of problem. Particularly if, as I mentioned last time, and as you said, Torkelson is this sort of contributor for the 2025 Tigers. I think there's a world now where the Tigers could win this division by 10 games if things break a certain way. And I'm not saying it will happen, but I think that possibility has opened up for them, and it doesn't exist for any other team in the division. Don't want to put too much on run differential right now, but to your point, tied for the best mark in the AL.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I misspoke. I think I said 41. They're 42, right?
Yeah, and I said AL, but that's actually put some
baseball
tied for Major League Baseball lead with the Yanks. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's in baseball. And again, just going back to what's happening on the mound. Skubal, Mize, Flaherty, Reese, Jackson. Every one of those dudes are fucking carving right now. Carving. So the offensive woes are not going to be what they are in Kansas City right now. And it's a clear separator what's happening on the mound right now. So, Jayhay, I think it might be a cold water effect for people, but your potential 10-game chasm when this is all said and done is a very realistic situation.
No question. And I also think they may be the team most inclined to add to their roster as well in the division, at least in like a high impact way.
Fuck yeah. Force the hand. This is kind of what I wanted to like. This is what I was hoping was going to happen for the Seattle Mariners and their potential for a postseason run, was that the starting pitching and the bullpen was going to be enough to force the front office's hand and say, we have to get some people who can score runs, because we just can't continue to lose close ball games. We can't do that. And now the Mariners are in a completely different boat right now with the big fella going down, Logan Gilbert.
Well, and it's cool for the Tigers too that offensive growth seems to have happened largely internally, because they were very clearly willing to spend this offseason if the piece was right. They all reports had them as the highest bidder for Alex Bregman. And so if an opportunity to add payroll or to make a significant acquisition comes up at or near the trade deadline, you have to think that the Tigers are going to be, at the forefront or at least involved in those conversations, probably in a way that no other Central team, certainly not the Guardians, Twins, or White Sox, are going to be. Unless you had anything more on that, or on either of No Laughing Matter, on either of the unfortunate injury updates from Tyler Glasnow or Logan Gilbert. I had a lighthearted topic I wanted to hit with you specifically.
Please do. Yeah. Give it to me. What do you got?
Did you see the clip of in the Cubs Phillies game at Wrigley of the grandma?
Yes, getting baked in the stands.
I mean, just
so good, so good.
Just like blowing it right, or canceling it. Who knows? It looks like she probably blew it into the jacket. But listen, that's a woman who knows how to take care of business, right? Because
she has been through it before. This is not her first, nor second, nor 10th rodeo. She will be comfortable doing the things that she likes to do in life, and she will find a way to do them.
I mean, that's how you got to take in that game, though, right? Looked a little windy, looked a little cold.
This would be significantly better if I were to be able to continue to forget how many outs there were. And if I just had no idea what the count was, this would be so much better.
Well, and I feel like, kind of like the modern, disregard for everyone else approach would be to just kind of blow it in the air. And it's like, it's a baseball game. It's outdoors. It's your problem. We're throwing peanuts on the ground. But a real lady of class. Just to blow it into her multi-layered thick jacket, so that it was really only a problem for her or nobody really.
And if you're a grandmother listening to this and you are at that game with your grandchild who may be of age, feel free to apply your grandmotherly instincts and just go ahead and pass that pin. You know what I'm saying? Treat it just like a little piece of butterscotch, Grandma. I want one too. I absolutely want one too.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to that lady.
Yeah, absolutely.
Type of grandmother you want.
Yes. And which leads me to shouting out my grandmother, Jayhay, because I
thought it was her actually at first.
Because I have several friends and several old teammates who, as far as a bucket list item is concerned, as far as a feather in their cap to wear, I'll say that hanging out with my grandma in the rotation is a badge that they get to wear, and it's just it's a very cool moment, great moment in time.
Speaking of being at Wrigley Field, speaking of getting tickets, consuming stuff in the way that you want to, are you familiar with Game Time?
I've heard. Tell me more, please.
So, my most recent experience going to a Major League Baseball game was opening day in St. Louis. And we decided to go in the fifth inning, something like that, after the streaming obligations were over. The streaming incredible time was over. And not only was it the easiest way to get tickets, Game Time, but it allowed us to save so much money that really went to, as you can probably guess, going to a baseball game with Jared, it went right to chicken fingers, right?
Yeah. Typical.
Steak tips. Yeah. Maybe a claw, throw a claw on there.
A little foam finger. They never went.
Game Time. It's the place for last minute deals. You save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, more. Game Time Picks makes last minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. Dallas, where's your favorite place in a stadium to take in a baseball game? Do you have like when you're forced to buy tickets or ask people for tickets and you're going to specify? Are you a first baseline? You're an outfield bleacher? What's your?
I am very I am very specific about if I'm going to see a lefty or a righty. If I see a lefty, I have to be lower first baseline. I want to be lock and step with him side. I want to be facing him. Same thing with a righty. I enjoy, because that's where my brain goes. That's where I start to lock in on. So if I can appease myself visually, I will do so.
You save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Maybe you can be flexible on this idea in the future.
Meet him halfway.
Yeah, toggling the all-in pricing feature. It shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And it also comes with the lowest price guarantee. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's how much they care. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code BID for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute ticket deals, lowest price, guaranteed.
That is outstanding. Outstanding.
You got anything else? You ready for nuggets?
I do think there's one thing that we have to touch on. And this is more just it's a combination of a humanitarian story. It's a combination of just can you not just be a decent human being? Like, it takes no talent to just try to be a decent human being. And I'm sure you folks already know what we're talking about. And that's the unfortunate incident that occurred with Jayhay Duran and fans for the Guardians just running their mouth, chirping them. I mean, if you have a player, and this is what we kind of talk about, like we've touched on it with Juan Soto answering questions about Aaron Judge hitting him behind him. And you have an athlete who's being forthcoming with information. He's answering a question genuinely and sincerely. And we just can't wait to line up and tell him how big of an asshole he is, right? Oh, quit being a baby. And you have somebody in Jayhay Duran whose impact in terms of mental health in our game is concerned has been magnitudinal, because he is a primetime player, and primetime players, right along with players who are just trying to figure themselves out, go through issues far away from the baseball field. When you get to the baseball field or your place of work, that is often a time where you can sort of mentally retreat and just get back to being that 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid who's enjoyed every bit of the grind to get where you're at. And with that grind comes some stripes that you've earned. And when Jarren Duran came out and was vocal about the issues that he was dealing with, and he opened up and let everybody into his world, that was an incredible moment of vulnerability. And it was an incredible moment, I think, in our sport as we watched folks rally around Jarren. And to have a fan completely remove themselves from the reality of the situation, and whether it be fueled by alcohol or whatever else, I don't give a fuck. There is absolutely no way, and there is no place for this type of treatment at the ballpark like that. It is obscene. It is an obtuse way of thinking. I can't, man, this fired me up on so many different levels, because part of me wanted Jarren Duran's teammates to just say, go for it. And I think there's a large group of fans in that immediate area who would have held off other fans and would have let Jarren Duran rip that guy 17 new orifices. And part of me wanted that to happen. But part of me is so glad that Jarren does have the support he has from his teammates and from the fans all over, that it didn't have to get there. But Jayhay, I can't, man. This kind of stuff just does not sit right, because I want players like Jarren, and I want players who maybe haven't felt the security enough to come forward and talk about these things. I want them to feel like it's going to be okay to do so. But when you see shit like this, it makes you feel like, man, I got to keep this close to the vest.
I mean, it's insane. It is obviously a reflection of, some diseased element of person-to-person interaction that currently exists these days. I mean, I have never spoken to anyone that way, including the people that I was most mad about, most angry with. I've never even thought about engaging another person in that regard. And that something about, because while this incident is unique and new, it is not new in the greater span of fan to athlete interactions. Awful, horrible shit is said at these guys all the time, or women all the time. And there is something about being a fan where some people just, and this is in no way an excuse, I'm just it's fascinating to me that a person who is otherwise going to jobs and has families and a spouse and kids, and in the scheme of life, you would never necessarily be able to identify that person as being, that's the person who's going to the ballpark and screaming this sort of vile stuff at a baseball player. And
Crazy.
yet they walk in and feel entitled, or like they have a right to speak this way to a person that they do not know on any level whatsoever. You have no right to speak to a person you do know on like that either, but that you don't know this person and feel entitled to speak this way is, to me, it's weirder.
Well,
it is weirder to me, because it's a level of disassociation and disconnection with, just basic human empathy that I can't really fully grasp.
And I am more than okay with Major League Baseball stepping in and removing the ability for this individual to ever buy a ticket and go to another Major League Baseball stadium. I am more than okay with that, because what you need as a fan to understand is it as much of a privilege to attend those games as it is for us as players to be playing in front of you. Do you understand what I just said? I, as a player, know how much of a privilege it is. Privilege. It's not my right. I don't deserve to. I have earned the privilege to perform in front of you, the fans, who have already made the decision to spend your hard-earned money to come and be entertained by what I and my teammates and our opponents are physically capable of doing in a sport that you enjoy. From there, that ticket does not buy you the freedom to come and verbally assault individuals and antagonize on a personal level to the extent where physical violence is a very real threat, not only from you to the player, from the player to you, but potentially people around you. That person's lucky that there wasn't somebody who has had similar experiences as Jayhay Duran sitting in arm's length of them, because that could have ended up very ugly. And that individual who spouted off would have had no idea where it was coming from. Mm-hmm. So remember, this is not a ticket to come and be the grossest and most obscene version of yourself. And then once the final out is made, you just revert back to the 9-to-5 guy or girl who's buttoned up and, like working at HR. Like you can't do this.
Game's over. Time to go home. Make sure my sleeping kids are okay. It's like, well, okay. Yeah.
No, you're a complete shitbag. So, again, I don't know where Major League Baseball goes in terms of handling this. I don't know if it's going to be a blanket, 86ing of this dude. But I know if you go into any other establishment and behave this way, there's a solid chance they have your face up on the fucking board when you walk in. Do not serve this person. If you see this person, identify them, let somebody know, and see you later. So I think the internet is probably already taken care of that.
I bet there's a decent chance that by the time this podcast episode is out, that this person has been banned from Major League Baseball stadiums for the duration. Like, I just don't, when the home team is coming out with statements acknowledging the situation, listen, I don't want to say as quickly because I wasn't necessarily counting the minutes until the Guardians issued a statement, but it was same day. So when the home team is all over it like that, I feel like everybody's in lockstep, and that's probably the last person or the last Major League Baseball game that person will attend, and for good.
Yes.
No, I'm. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. That's it. I hope folks just remember, man, you're going to the ball game, not to share your opinions on race, politics, sexuality. Like, that's not what the fucking ball game is for. Okay. That's just not. And if you find yourself starting to venturing into those waters, get up, go get a pretzel, go get a hot dog, and rethink it, man. Rethink it.
Or at least consign that conversation to the person you came with.
Jesus.
Yeah. And not yelling the grossest stuff you can possibly imagine at an outfielder.
You got some nugs, Jayhay?
Yeah. Before we get to that, though, I did have one transaction that occurred actually back when Jared was still on the pod that it broke and didn't get a chance to mention it before he bounced. The other shoe has dropped. Jared Kelenic has been optioned to AAA.
There it is.
Braves announced they've signed veteran outfielder Eddie Rosario to a major league8-contract. Kelenic to AAA, designation of Zach Thompson. So just something we thought might happen, not necessarily because of the situation, but more because of the fact that he had been really bad. And a 167, 231, 300 batting line in 65 plate appearances with a 35% strikeout rate just isn't going to play. So
not great. No.
I do have some nugs. You're gonna see him later today. You also saw him last week, and we talked about him on Thursday. So this is not necessarily new, but I want to keep pumping Wyatt Langford. The only guys he had another strong weekend, and the only guys with a higher OPS since September 1 of last year are Judge and Ohtani. So that's it. Those are the only players. Ceddanne Rafaela had his third career game with 5 or more RBI out of the 9th spot in the batting order over the weekend. That tied Jackie Bradley Jr. for the most such games in Red Sox franchise history. Obviously, Rafaela is pretty early, you would think, in his career, although you never know when you're early in a team career. But he's obviously off to a great start. Aforementioned Jayhay Duran, first Red Sox player with a triple, 3 or more runs scored, 2 or more RBI, and a steal of home, which was pretty exciting, obviously, as all steals home are. since Ben Chapman on September 21st, 1938. Kevin Gausman, tough. DB, can you think of what it would be like to throw a 53 pitch inning?
Oh my God. My arm immediately started throbbing as soon as you said that.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. First Blue Jays pitcher since Ricky Romero. Very fitting name to come up in the search, by the way.
Wow.
On July 25th, 2012, to allow 6 or more runs and issue 5 or more walks in 16 or fewer batters faced. That's Gausman, obviously, I'm referring to. O'Neal Cruz, your boy, over the weekend, third player in MLB history with 8 or more homers and 12 or more stolen bases through 25 games, joining Brian Roberts in 2005, which has to be on the list of the most forgotten crazy stat seasons of all time. And then maybe my favorite baseball reference page to visit, because he's a player that I really didn't get to watch play, but I like to gawk, which is Eric Davis in 1987. So O'Neal Cruz off to some pretty cool power speed stuff. Quick Nats hit here. The bad, Mitchell Parker, who I believe we shouted out in his last start for his excellence. Second pitcher in Nationals franchise history to have a start with 5 or more walks and 7 or more runs allowed in 5 or fewer innings pitched, joining a man named Mike O'Connor on July 29th, 2006. I will fully admit, while I was a baseball fan, I missed the Mike O'Connor era. So my bad on that. Skubal, third pitcher in Tigers franchise history with 11 or more strikeouts, 0 runs, and 0 walks in a start, joining Anibal in 2014 and Max Scherzer in 2012. Joe Ryan, first Twins starter to have an 11 strikeout, 0 run performance against the Angels. We're getting very specific now. Since Eric Milton on September 11th, 1999. Hunter Brown, again, your boy, 1.22 ERA through his first 6 starts this season. That is the lowest ERA through the first 6 starts of a season by an Astros pitcher since Keuchel's Cy Young campaign in 2015, when he started with a 0.80. I skipped over the good side of the Nationals nugget. I forgot about that. Dylan Cruz, who, if we're all on the same page that James Wood is the most important position player, Dylan Cruz is definitely the second most important position player in terms of their development for the Nationals. He started off basically as bad as a baseball player can start through 13 games. He was hitting 106 with a 249 OPS. That's a 249 OPS. Thankfully, over his last 12 games, it's all turned around. 364, an OPS scraping 1,100, and 4 homers and 3 steals. So very much looking like the dynamic power speed threat that he was projected as. And then I always like to end with the Rockies if I can.
Because you're a dick.
Because I'm such a hater, man. It's great. 7th team in the wild card era to be outscored by 69 or more runs through their first 27 games of a season. And we are very blessed. We're very blessed as baseball fans, because this is the 4th straight season we've had a team be that bad that early. The 25 Rockies, the 24 White Sox, the 23 A's, and the 20 and the 22 Reds, who get forgotten because they sort of turned it around. I believe they won 61 games in the end. The 2010 Pirates, 2003 Tigers, and 97 Reds. So yeah, 4 straight seasons where we've had a team be outscored by 69 or more runs through 27 games. So just totally non-competitive baseball. And then more significantly, because it's really all about wins and losses, the 5th team in modern baseball history since 1900 to lose at least 23 of their first 27 games. This is something that neither the 24 White Sox nor the 23 Athletics did. This is only the 2025 Rockies, the 2022 Reds, the 2003 Tigers, obviously famous, 1988 Orioles, also famous in their generation, and the 1936 Browns, which I can't really tell you if they were famous or not. Maybe for people in the 1930s they were, but so rare that a franchise that no longer exists, or a team name that no longer exists is on the list. So Rockies, I mean, listen, one of my favorite traditions in baseball now is following teams that are abjectly awful on a historical level every season. I need one of those teams every year now, and we are getting them.
Oh, you're getting it.
Yeah, we're getting it. And the Rockies feel like they are determined to, they're like, oh, we see what the White Sox did last year. That's very, very impressive. Here's what we have in store for you. And they've delivered 23 losses in 27 games. So shout out to the Rocks. And those are the Nugs.
Well, that was a bountiful heaping of hate. Oh my God. Hang
so
with
much
them,
hate,
Rocks.
I had to
Yeah, you
rehydrate
cool it
my
off.
mouth.
Yeah, you got to cool them lips off, spewing all that fucking fire hotness. God. Well, that is, those are tough pills to swallow, but they are going to do their best. Alanis,
they're not going to turn
Morissette impression and swallow those jagged little pills down. Final thoughts. Shout out Alanis. Shout out Dave Coulier, Uncle Joey in the fucking theater. God bless you. I would like to shout out Will Venable. Why am I shouting out Will Venable after Jayhay just trashed the Chicago White Sox? Well, it's because, look, I think we all understood that Will was coming into a situation where there was going to be the freedom to explore. And explore he has done. He has re-explored the notion of the opener, which actually led to one left-hander, Tyler Gilbert, making 2 starts in back-to-back days. And that hadn't happened for the White Sox in 50 years.
No, it's
50 years it took for that to happen.
That's a great note.
And I will say, and I will say this, and just specifically, people are like, what the fuck? Really? You care about the opener? The idea that the rotation got off to the start that it did for the White Sox, but Will also understood, I've got a left-handed lineup. I've got 2 out of the 3 first guys I'm seeing in this lineup for the Athletics right now that are they're banging, and I need to see if I can neutralize that. I don't want to get Lawrence Butler hot. What do? I don't want to feed into Soderstrom and the power that's happening. What do? So he ran a lefty out there. It was 3 lefties 3 days in a row. But again, I think in a situation where Will is trying to figure out how to go about it, he's in a very similar situation as Mark Kotze was in, which is, how do I grow the team, grow the players, and try to win ball games all at the same time? It's not an easy task, but I believe the White Sox, and I think White Sox fans are going to realize sooner rather than later that Will is probably the right guy. Not probably, Will is the right guy to lead them through this transition period. And then my other final thought, we lightly touched on the injuries. Tyler Glasnow down with a shoulder injury. That rotation now, and this is what we talked about, as good as you can be on paper, you have to have a supporting cast. You have to have guys that you can plug in, because as far as the bill of health goes right now for the Dodgers rotation, you have a Sasaki who's basically not allowed to go past 5. And you have Yamamoto who's dealing, and you have Dustin May. You don't have Tyler Glasnow because he's now on the shelf. And you don't have a whole host of other guys because they are also on the shelf. Gonsolin, Hurt, Kershaw, Ryan, Sheehan, Snell, Stone. The list literally goes on and on. So as much as we have talked about what the Dodgers are capable of doing, the powerhouse and who they are, this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing for the Los Angeles Dodgers, especially when we identify the NL West as being a team that could potentially see 3 teams come out of that division. Not great. Not great. That's all I got. Final thoughts, Jayhay?
I think it's incredible that the plucky underdog Dodgers are 18-10 and only a half game out of the division with all the adversity they faced this season.
Chugging along. Chugging along.
Just, it's the sort of story to inspire a film.
It's the little engine that could. I mean, it doesn't have full Thomas the Tank vibes right now, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they can. I mean, they are literally, jokes aside, they are literally running out of pitchers. So we can laugh about the depth and their talent base and what the projections say on their likelihood to win the division and all that sort of stuff. And I'm looking at all of that stuff right now, but they can't even fill out the depth chart right now with major league players. And I'm going to be interested to see how they fill this. And I'm not necessarily worried, but I do think it's worth acknowledging that the bar for the competition that they appear to be facing in the West is higher than I think the consensus and the numbers suggested. And that's even if the Padres and Giants play to the level that everybody thought they were before the season for the rest of the year. Like, even if people were right about the quality of those teams, the wins that they have right now are banked. And so the margin for the Dodgers may be just like that much smaller. Maybe those 2 to 3 games smaller, maybe they matter. Maybe we'll see.
See, we shall. Well, Jake, you got anything? Final thoughts?
Yeah, if anybody's grandma's going to Fenway this weekend and is looking to cancel some pen rips in the bleachers with me, I'll be there all weekend. I'm more than down. I'm sure Game Time will set us up. So just hit my DMs.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Well done, Jake. Yeah, don't be afraid to tap grandma. Tap grandma in. She's down to ride. That is it for us. We will be back Wednesday. We'll see you Wednesday. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Jared will be done taking a tour of the toilet that Yoko Ono once threw up on in some random ass pub. Who knows? Well,